Here we go. We're finally live. Welcome to Shoot the Defense, brought to you by FNX and My Sportswear. I'm your host, Stel, and I almost dropped my coffee all over myself. And Yiannakis, welcome back. You're looking a bit pretty this week.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, I got my silly hat on this week, so yeah.
Okay, fair enough. You want to explain why you don't have your hat this week, or
it's not that cold for me?
It's not that cold.
No, so.
Wonderful. Okay, well, there's a niceties out of the way. I'm not going to be nice to you for the rest of the show. Rhodri, welcome back to the show. How you doing, buddy?
You right, fellas? Yeah. Thanks.
All right, Rod.
Show us your pie.
It's gone.
He's devoured it. He's back in Manchester. He's gone. What kind of pie was it? Was it a steak and kidney, meat and potatoes?
The steak and kidney, but a homemade Manchester gravy on it. Beautiful.
Nice. What's your favourite chippy up there, Rod?
Oh, flipping heck. Oh, there's loads up here.
You go down a Curry Mile, yeah?
No, not that far. Just up the road here. So there's a few in Salford.
Excellent.
There's a good variety down here. Cardiff, not so much. Is that just that one?
Just that Wilson. Another plug, and you still got no free chips.
No free chips.
Shame on them. Yeah, don't worry. We'll get you sorted, mate. We'll get your sponsorship. Yeah. What do you reckon? I'm sure they'll be happy to sponsor you.
We'll get there in the end.
Exactly. Even if we have to huff and puff and blow their house. Anyway, right. We have a very special guest this evening. He is the host and owner of the One Up Front 4231 podcast. It is Emmanuel. Welcome to Shoot the Defense, my friend. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you for that. Thank you for allowing me on.
Yeah, it's an absolute pleasure. Emmanuel, before we get cracking on the show, mate, tell us a bit about your podcast, how long you've been doing it, what it's about. We're intrigued.
Yeah, the One Up Front podcast is a podcast started by myself and my mate Marcus, and we started it in around June 2017. And basically, what our podcast tries to focus on is book reviews, documentaries, and basically topics that are not so often spoken about in football. Our kind of vision basically was to try and create a podcast that as soon as you log on or find it, you would find footballing information or football narratives that you would think, oh, I've not heard about that story before, or this is a topic that maybe hasn't been researched, and we just basically want to try and provide sort of niche content. So we try to look at deeper into stuff. I think one of our first episodes was basically looking at Pep Guardiola's book Pep Confidential, and just looking at his whole philosophy. Did one on called Numbers Game. It talked about stats in football and how much percentage you would give to luck versus skill. So those were our first couple of episodes, and we're trying to continue on doing more of those sorts of episodes.
I listened to the recent one about the Glaswegian managers, and it was very, very interesting, to be fair. You guys really go in depth, and some of the stats that you're pulling out, I mean, I don't know where you got them from, but I was very impressed with your research.
Yeah, it was pretty much, we just dig up loads and loads of old articles. And I think that article that was on Glaswegian Managers was just on the BBC website. I think it was from 2011. And that's the sort of thing we just try to kind of find out. I think we've also got one coming up shortly, which is about Italian managers and how they've come to dominate the Premier League, and what sort of training and education process they've kind of gone through to now be second behind Scottish managers as the most successful nation in terms of winning Premier League titles. So that will be coming out sometime before Christmas. So.
There you go. See, tune in, because it's an absolutely intriguing. Yeah, it's a very interesting podcast, and like I said, I've listened to a couple of them now, and they're not podcasts. And I'm not just saying this because you're on, Emmanuel, but it's easy listening. You don't have to. It's there. It's in your face. It's informative. It's entertaining. And it's raw. It's basically what we are. Really, it's organic. And I'll take it you're on a shoestring budget as well, mate.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to do it as low cost as possible.
Best way, mate. Best way. See, why do you need to go to Waitrose if you've got a pound shop around the corner? This is the way I see it. Same sort of stuff. Right, let's kick off the show, shall we? And we're going to start at the bottom of the table for the first time in how long? Yeah. And it's where both Crystal Palace and West Ham won 3-0 away from home, which I can't remember that ever happening either. Now, Roy Hodgson's men stunned informed Leicester City while the Moyes boys on tour leapfrog Stoke City. And Emmanuel, I'm going to start with you, mate. Roy Hodgson, he obviously heaped praise on Christian Benteke after the Belgian opened the scoring, ending his goal drought in the process. I mean, that penalty last week was a shocker, which we discussed in detail. Wilf Zaha also got on the score sheet. And I need to know from you, mate, what's your opinion? Which one of the two do you think are most valuable to the club?
I'll most like probably. I think it's Wilf Zaha. I think if you look at the way he plays and because he allows them, I think, a lot of tactical flexibility. Because you can play him wide left, wide right, and you can play him central. I think when Benteke was injured for about 2 months, they basically played Wilf Zaha and I think Townsend up front. So you can see from the way that Wilf Zaha plays, quite a tricky winger, quite pacey, strong as well, and he's got a knack for scoring goals. So I think he is possibly. I think he's more valuable to Palace than Benteke. And obviously, just from the weekends gone, I think that's Benteke's first goal of the season. And obviously, he's had 2 months out, but still, you would expect for a close to £30 million striker, you would have at least got a few more goals before now. So.
Absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, tell me something, Emmanuel. Do you think Zaha's time at United kind of helped him develop in some way? Because we know that he didn't get that many games and he was loaned back to Crystal Palace. Do you think that time at United helped him in any way?
It's a hard one to really quantify because still we don't really know why he didn't make it at Manchester United. Obviously, there's rumours about professionalism and all that sort of stuff, but maybe the lack of game time and him going back to somewhere where he is comfortable, maybe that because sometimes you just need that the thing that you love the most to kind of be pulled away from you, for you to really maybe value it. And obviously he's gone back to Palace, he's got lots to prove. He's also been rejected by England, which has also fueled him in terms of going to play for the Ivory Coast. So that disappointment definitely changed his mindset, and he's now a lot more professional. You can see he's fitter, stronger, and I think also as well he's just more experienced. I think he's just shy of 25 now. So yeah, so he's really developed, and obviously consistent match time as well.
We've certainly stepped up since returning to Crystal Palace, and mate, despite Palace's bad start, because they have had a bit of a bumpy start to the season, Ruby Loftus-Cheek has undoubtedly been their standout performer. I mean, he's been fantastic. What do you make of his contribution to the club?
He's been excellent. He's been on loan from Chelsea. To think, like you said, for a team or a club that's been struggling, he's outshone everybody there and he showed his quality. He got himself into the England team as well. It's a bonus for him. It could be a dark horse to make it for the World Cup as well. I think he should go because he could play numerous positions. He could play wide left, he could play wide right. Even though I personally believe his best position is a number 10, but the fact that he is flexible, he is worth taking, and he's got quality on the ball. Obviously, him being at Chelsea and learning, through the ranks at Chelsea is developed for him to go to Palace and prove his skill. And if he carries on playing the way that he has, Palace will get themselves out of trouble. So for me, he's been excellent.
Great stuff. And the Stoke West Ham game was delayed because of a power cut. Although, given the way Stoke played, you'd have thought the lights weren't on upstairs on each of the players. Stoke have now lost 5 out of their last 6 games, and fans have turned on Mark Hughes. Now, Emmanuel, Mark Hughes believes things are conspiring against him, and they, in inverted commas, need help from referees to get it right. Does Mark Hughes have a point?
I don't think it's a tough one. I don't think things are conspiring against them. He's won 4 games all season. There's a lot that needs to go wrong for you to be able to blame the referees about those. You've played, I think we're on 18 games now of the season. I think what I think about Mark Hughes anyway is that he's kind of deflecting responsibility from the situation. You shouldn't be in a position as a football manager to be basically looking for help from the referees. You should, do your job, organise your defence, get your attack going, and win games, basically. At the end of the day, you can't. I think it would be wrong for any of us, if we were to play football, to look to the referee and say, you know, you've got to help me out here. At the end of the day, you're paid money as a manager to go out, sort out the issues of your team, and get them winning again. And at the moment, he's not doing that, and he's a desperate man at the moment. Because I think today, stories have come out basically saying that he's got two games to save his job, and Peter Coates, the Stoke chairman, has come out and said that we need to basically beat West Brom. So yeah, he's under pressure, and I think that's the reason why he's getting desperate.
That's right. And Rod, Stoke have conceded the most goals in the league, mate, although they've scored more than every team from 11th to 20th. Now, we both know they've got the players to tighten things up at the back, don't they? Surely.
They do, but if you look at the record that they've got 3 clean sheets all season. One was in the first week of the season, one was against Rochdale, and one was against Watford. So that's what you expect when you go to Stoke. You're going to have a difficult game. It's going to be tough. That's gone now. That's out the window. People are going there and expected to win and expected to score goals against them, because as the record states, they're conceding goals.
That's what. You still there?
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. Okay, well, let's talk about Marko Arnautovic then, because he came back to haunt his former club, and he's become as important to West Ham as Pyatt once was, doesn't he? Rod?
Say that again, mate. You broke up then.
Yeah.
I just said that Arnautovic, he scored against his old club, and he seems to be becoming as important as Dimitri Payet was at West Ham.
He is. These players are, they're temperamental players, but they can win matches. But you've got to if you're going to play for a manager like David Moyes. We've seen it with the best players: David De Bruyne, David Silva, the hard-working players. Arnautovic has got to get that into his game, which he has, and David Moyes installed that into his game. And he's always going to score goals for you, because he's a decent player. And like I said, he can win games for you.
That's right. Absolutely. Well, Watford's poor run of form continues after losing 4-1 at home against Huddersfield. And to compound the Hornets' misery, Troy Deeney was sent off with just over 30 minutes gone. Now, he hasn't really done much since that whole cojones comment against Arsenal, has he? Let's be 100% honest. Emmanuel, I mean, this was a huge result for Huddersfield, given they hadn't scored, let alone won away since the opening day of the season against Palace. It's been a very spectacular season for David Wagner's man, hasn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think you just have to look at where and how far he's kind of brought them. I think they were when they qualified for the playoffs, they had probably the lowest budget out of the top 6 teams in the championship last season. So for them to kind of be able to compete at this level is actually fantastic. I mean, obviously, like you said again, they've not, until the Watford game, they hadn't scored away from home since then. And now they've been able to do this. I think, I think they were saying on Match of the Day that London, like when you don't score for so long, the London buses come in twos, and they ended up scoring 4 goals. So I think he's doing a brilliant job. And I think where they currently are now, I think they're about 4 points off the relegation spots at the moment. So they are doing really well, and I really hope that they can push on and kind of stay clear of relegation.
That's right. And mate, Newcastle's 1-0 loss at Arsenal means they're winless in 9 games. And Rafa Benitez told the BBC they need something in January. But the same is for
start the
season. Absolutely. So will Rafa even get his wish, even if the takeover by PCB Partners doesn't go through?
I don't think so. I don't think there's money at Newcastle. If there was, they would have spent it in the summer and make sure that they're in a respectable position to stay up. I don't know what's happened behind the scenes at Newcastle. It seems to be a disarray club all the time. Newcastle, there's always something that happens at Newcastle, kind of every summer. The fact is, they've got championship players in the Premiership. They need to strengthen in probably. I think they need a goal scorer. They don't score enough goals for me, and probably a number 10 as well. You need to score goals in the Premiership. If you don't score goals, you're going to go down. Newcastle are always going to concede, so they need somebody to put the ball in the back of the net.
They bought Hosselu, do they?
But Hosselu, they've got Gale. Mitrovic doesn't even feature. The wide men don't seem to score any goals like Newcastle. Ritchie and Atsu, and They don't really get goals from midfield. They struggle. You know, they might score 1, 2 the most in a game. They don't score many goals, Newcastle, and they always concede. So for me, that's the position that they need to strengthen. Now, if they've got the money to do that, that's another story. But for Newcastle's sake, the takeover needs to happen to make sure that they stay in the Premiership.
That's right. That's right. And Rod, let me ask you something. Have West Brom actually changed their managers yet? Because apparently Alan Pardew's replaced Tony Pulis, but it just seems like business as usual. I mean, it was another game, another defeat, albeit against Man United. Pards has a lot on his hands, hasn't he?
He has, but by all accounts, you know, the place is a lot happier place to be around. The training's a lot better, and you know, albeit the results haven't been, albeit favouring, but in his way, it's you know, it's a difficult start for him. But he's an experienced manager. I'm sure West Brom will be safe, but you know, Funke spoke about this when they appointed him. It's just a safe option for me. I don't know if there's a lot more young and better managers out there for me. Alan Pardew's had his time, but it's the same thing with David Miles. These managers seem to get jobs time and time after again. So I'm sure he'll turn around, but you know, it'll be the same mid-table for me for West Brom, albeit he's had a difficult start. The
thing is, I haven't seen anything different from West Brom since Pardew took over. But let's be 100% honest. I know he's only been a couple games, but it's the same system. Yeah. One man up top, and there's no fluidity. There's no creativity. I mean, obviously, I know that he hasn't been able to bring anyone else in, and I think in January he will be given funds. But how much will he be given? Because let's be honest, Tony Pulis did spend quite a bit of money. And is there money there? Like what you said with Newcastle, is there money at West Brom? They've been in the Premier League for quite a while now. They're an established team.
I don't think there is there either. I agree with you. I thought for 60, 70 minutes, they were shocking on Sunday. They didn't even show any spirit at all. They didn't get in United's faces at all. So the last 20 minutes where they started to kind of huff and puff and got the goal that they decided to do something. But I thought they were really poor. I agree with you. I haven't seen anything different. I know they got a decent result against Liverpool. They went and got a 0-0. But that was the first goal they scored in, 4 games? They're another team that don't put the ball in the back of the net. So, Pardew, I know West Brom wanted a new style of football and some manager to come in to play a different style. But at the end of the day, it's still all about results. And if Pardew's not going to get, I mean, he'll be at the door soon as well.
That's right. That's right. Emmanuel, a few weeks ago, I was asking the panel that what do West Brom fans expect? Because they were booing Tony Pulis. They wanted better football, I guess. Listen, they're not going to be pulling up trees. They're not going to be getting to the Champions League. I don't think they'll be going for a Europa League spot. So what did the fans expect? I mean, do they expect heart? Do they expect passion? Do they expect creative football? I don't know what West Brom fans expect when they're booing their manager after losing a few games. Let's be 100% honest. They're a mid to bottom of the table team, aren't they?
Yeah, they definitely are. I think the problem with a lot of these teams is that, and it's a human thing, is that when you stabilize or get to a certain level, you want to kind of go a bit further. But the problem for teams like West Brom is that when you stabilize and you are okay in the Premier League, if you don't go up and then you go down, or you start to go down, then it's just like, well, this is not what we're paying for. And so even the good that they were doing well, they're not doing it anymore. And it was the baseline of their expectations. So they were right. They were right to boo their manager, because I think in some sense they've only had 2 wins, and those were the first 2 games of the season. But they've not really progressed. But they, like you said, they are a kind of a yo-yo club effectively. And they can't really expect more, and you can't expect more with that budget, with the sorts of players that they brought. So in a sense, they are kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place, because I think that they've been buying like 34, 35-year-old defenders. And, so what are you really expecting? And I think just as a lot of teams have been doing recently, that they are treading water, but their team has fallen even below their baseline expectations. So I think that the fans are right to kind of, be venting their frustration, really.
Just making a point about what Manuel said. What do these clubs expect? it's like they overachieve by staying in the Premiership. Your teams like your Southampton, they're not going to, they haven't got the money to push on to challenge the top fours, the top six. So where are they looking to go? And and they get on the players' backs and the managers. They should be happy they're in the Premiership. So I don't know. I think they expect too much.
No, I agree. The thing is, I think Leicester winning the league kind of.
What if they can do it? So
I think that's the kind of mentality that they've got. But let's be 100% honest. That was a freak season, and excuse me, irrespective of how well Leicester did, because they were phenomenal that season. The table doesn't lie, as they say. Everyone else around them were poor. Arsenal were poor. Liverpool were poor. United were poor. City were poor. Spurs, they challenged. That's it. So Leicester winning the league has obviously given a few heads a wobble and got a lot of fans on their club's backs. But if you look at, say, for example, Bournemouth, I doubt you'll ever see Bournemouth fans get on the team's back, because they've got the story, the success story. Yeah. Now look at Blackpool. Look at where they are now. I doubt any Blackpool fans were getting on Holloway's back at the time. Rod, what do you make of West Brom, mate? Because I know we've spoken about it before with Tony Pulis. I mean, if you look at their previous managers, I'll say their previous managers, right?
Pepe Mel.
Alan Pardew now. Gary Megson was a caretaker. Tony Pulis, Rob Kelly, these are caretakers. Alan Irvine, then Pepe Mel, Keith Downing, bless you.
Excuse me.
Steve Clark, Roy Hodgson. I mean, this is since 2011. But if you look at the common denominator, right, you got Roy Hodgson, Tony Pulis, Alan Pardew. Very similar styles. And then you've got managers like Pepe Mel, Keith Downing, Steve Clark. They all tried to do something different. Roberto Di Matteo all tried to do something different and failed. So what does that tell you about this club? When you've got different managers that play different systems and it doesn't work. But then when you bring in a manager with a very similar system to previous managers, it works. It must tell you something about the club, surely.
Yeah, it's difficult. It's like Emmanuel says, these clubs are, they're stuck in a rut. I can guarantee you all these coaches, and their experienced coaches and managers, at the start of the season, their objective was to get to that 40 point mark, no matter where they've come in the season previous, because it's difficult. There's so many teams that are in that kind of level of West Brom, Stoke, Leicester. Okay, they had a freak season. Southampton, there's at least 10 of them, so it's difficult. But going over all them same managers there, they just seem to be the same managers. Tony Pulis, they have one good season or one good period, and the fans expect much more. They're a 10, 11, 12 team at best, and it's a struggle for them every year. It's a struggle. With Jamie Vardy, with the Leicester team, you've got to have someone who scores goals. Leicester had that with Jamie Vardy. If you've got someone sticking 25 goals a season, then that's a big help. I don't think West Brom has scored 25 goals between them already, the whole team. So it's difficult, but I think the fans do expect too much when, they do overachieve. We've seen it with Stoke, they've overachieved, and now they expect them to be there every year, and it's difficult. It's very difficult.
That's right. And I think obviously the quality isn't there. Let's not be around the bush. Rondon isn't going to get you 20, 25 goals. Rodriguez won't get you. Hal Robson, Kanu won't. And then you look at where's the creativity?
Did you see McLean's stat? I think 1 goal and no assists in the last 33 games or something. What chance you got? He's a winger who puts crosses in, and he's got 1 assist.
Haven't they got McManaman as well? That was from Wigan.
He's at Sunderland. He's on loan at Sunderland. Yeah.
There you go, creative player. They're relying on Gareth Barry for crying out loud.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be funny.
They're bringing veteran centre halves in as well. They're trying to put square pegs around holes, and what's going on with the youth system? There's no players coming through. There's no young players there. They just seem to be going for the old statesman and Gareth Barry, the centre half that they brought in. So
but you know what? I think that they're scrapping their youth system, Rod. They're scrapping their youth system because they've lost a lot of players to like your Liverpools and your Chelseas. And what they were saying, I can't remember. Excuse me. I'm gonna have to dig up this interview because I think it was with the Swansea the West Brom chairman last season or maybe the year before. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I remember they interviewed him and he said, "Well, there's no point in having this youth system because we develop players they end up going to like the Liverpools, the Chelseas. They get about $500,000 in compensation or £100,000. Whereas they've spent about 20, 30, 40 million pounds on this academy and they're not seeing any value for it. So they said, we're going to scrap it. So that's the answer to your question. I think Huddersfield are doing the same.
Well, that's a worry in itself because, you know, there's no young players going to be coming through West Brom ever again if that's the case. And that's obviously disappointing because there is some brilliant players that's come through West Brom, if I think, over the years. So, yeah, that's obviously something that needs to be looked at because it's wrong if the bigger clubs are cherry picking the best players when it seems like West Brom have produced them.
Yeah, I think if you see it with I think it's with Isaiah Brown, who went from West Brom to Chelsea, and obviously he's been farmed out on loan to Brighton, and now he's at Huddersfield, or is it the other way around? I can't remember.
The other way around.
Huddersfield and then to Brighton. Sorry.
Yep.
And yeah, so there's just no benefit. I mean, like they've brought through this Sam Lecco or Sam Fields, 2 youth players now, but they're not getting game time. And I think again that's another thing with the Premier League is that a lot of managers are under pressure. So to take a risk on a young player who's going to be inconsistent, it's just not going to happen. So yeah, it's just unfortunate, really.
Yeah, you got to be really brave these days as a manager,
of course,
to put the youth players in, because there isn't, you know, the 10, 20 years ago where you can field 2, 3 players and wait for them like your Gerrards and what United did with what Fergie did with the United boys, etc. Now it's all about results, all about bringing in the best players if you can and spending the money, and the emphasis on youth is not there anymore.
Well, look, ultimately, in the end, that's going to affect the England team. It must do.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
I agree. The thing is, Everton are bringing through a lot of youngsters, aren't they?
Yeah, that's true. Probably one of the only clubs in the Premiership are bringing a lot out. So they've done well. Calvert-Lewin's a good player at Everton. Quite like him.
From Sheffield United, didn't he?
Yeah.
Right. Speaking about West Brom, let's talk about a former West Brom player who actually scored against them for Man United, Kaka. He's actually got 2 goals in 2 games since Assistgate.
Yeah.
Are you happier than last week? A little bit.
What, with Lukaku or United?
Just in general, with life, really.
With life. Huh. Well, United winning 2 games, I'm always going to be happy when United are winning. Now, I'm not happy with the way United have won both games, but irrelevant. 6 points is 6 points. As for Lukaku, we know he's going to score against Bournemouth and West Brom. You know, there's no.
Oh, yeah,
we know about that. There's no doubt about that. He's had a lot of stick. Now, you know, I'm probably one of them. I'm not going to sit here and hide. Rightly or wrongly, he just needs to work hard, put the ball in the back of the net, and prove everybody wrong. That's the only thing he can do. I mean, I don't know if we're going to read too much in his goal celebrations. He's not really celebrating unless he feels the fans have got to him and he doesn't want to give something back. I don't know, but
maybe that's his goal celebration, not to celebrate.
Not to celebrate, yeah. But listen,
but then again, it was against his old club, so
yeah. But he didn't score against Bournemouth. He scored against Bournemouth. He didn't celebrate, so I don't know. Maybe it's just.
We're going to argue about that now because he didn't celebrate.
No, I'm not going to argue. Listen, he can score every week and not celebrate. I don't care, to be honest. So
there you go. Problem solved.
There you go.
Emmanuel, I forgot to ask, what team do you support?
Oh, Manchester United.
So you
full house tonight.
So there you go. So are you on the? Are you pro or anti Lukaku, mate?
I'm super pro Lukaku, man. to my own detriment, I think I went on a podcast, or actually a YouTube channel earlier in this season when he's gone like 7-7, and I was just like, oh, yeah, he's world class, he's this, he's that, and now that's all come back to bite me. Like, I'm just like, you know, but yeah, I just think, you know, Lukaku is what he is, and I just want to see him improve, and I think we should give him the chance to improve and step up. You know, he hasn't been good, especially against the big teams, but he's got time, and I think he will improve. I'm pro Lukaku.
Excellent. There you go. Wonderful. Right, Man City, they annihilated Spurs 4-1, although Pochettino's men only had themselves to blame after a catalogue of defensive errors. And I'm going to put this through to all of you guys. Eric Dyer was died, to say the least, and the defensive cohesion we're so used to seeing was non-existent. to say the least.
Yeah.
Add Dele Alli's best impression of the Invisible Man, and you have a really bad day at the office. What did you make of Spurs' performance the weekend?
City were always going to win for me. City are too good at the moment. Doesn't matter who they're playing.
But what did you make of Spurs' performance? We waxed lyrical about City with Cheeseman last week. I can't go on about this again.
No, I couldn't do it about City again for another week, to be fair. Tottenham, again, it's another away day at the big boys and not turning up again. I mean, all right, you've got to give them the benefit of who they're playing, this week. But I just thought the attitude was a bit wrong as well. Some of the challenges, of Kane, Dele Alli, bit over the top. I don't know if it was frustration or just...
I mean, because Christmas is coming, they want a three-game ban.
Yeah, it could be. Spend Christmas at home, yeah. It's not a bad point, actually. But it's been documented with Tottenham all season and the last 2-3 years. The away form against the big boys is not good enough. And again, Saturday proved another result away from home.
Emmanuel, what's your take on Spurs' performance?
It was atrocious, absolutely atrocious. And the thing is, for me, when I look at how Spurs play, they need. I don't think they need a tight and compact pitch, but for me, their in-game changes just weren't quick enough. Like, you saw how quickly City were pressing them, hunting them in packs, and they still didn't get the ball long to beat the press. And that's one thing, because for me, it's like either you're good on the ball and you could kind of do the passing triangles to get out of the spaces, or you just hit it long. But again, I just knew City were really gonna smack them, because Arsenal and Spurs away from home, they just can't be trusted. You can get any of the big boys at home, you can trust them to get a result, but away from home they just don't turn up, and it's just another strike against Pochettino.
There you go, another loss against a top 6 team. Yeah. Rod, we've asked, or should I say, we've spoken several times about Arsenal's lack of, how shall we say, testicular fortitude, the cojones, going back to have Spurs got a bit of the same problem, mate? Because, it was a game that you'd expect them to turn up in, and they didn't.
Yeah, it was like Jan said, City is just too good at the minute, and Tottenham obviously going through a difficult spell. I just really don't get the hype with Dele Alli. I've never seen a player yet. I know there's a player in there, but I'm yet to see it. We see his petulance. I don't mind that a bit, but it was a bit nasty, that tackle. But I've not seen a great player that he supposedly is yet. Harry Kane's obviously going through a little. And Eriksen was off his game, so and City were just too good at the minute. They just tore him to pieces and play him at their own game, and just obviously they're better team at the minute.
But what about Spurs defensively though? Because they've got a bit of a reputation for being quite solid, but Tongan had a bad game. Dyer, as I said, was pretty bad. Alderweireld, what's going on with him at the moment? Is he?
Yeah, he's watching it. To me, watching it. Yeah, no. The season was over. It was they're on the beach. That's what the game looked like to me. The Tottenham player, they looked like they weren't interested in City. Just run right with him.
For me, he's the best defender in the Premiership.
Alderweireld, yeah, and they miss him.
Yeah,
they definitely miss him.
Massive.
Definitely miss him. But the thing is, since they beat Real Madrid, it's almost as if this hype train has kind of got to their heads.
Well, the focus is just on the Champions League now. They know they're too far away, challenging for the league. Maybe they're just putting all their eggs in one basket regarding the Champions League, possibly.
Well, shame on Kyle Walker for wanting to go to a club that challenges for every trophy, not just one. Oh, well. Right. Yes, in other news, Real Madrid, speaking of them again, they became the world champions of club football, beating Gremio 1-0 in the Middle East. The trophy has been won by European clubs 10 times out of 14 years. Now, Biteback this week is actually revolving around the World Club Championship, and I asked, well, I should say, we put it to our Facebook group page. Given its format, is the Club World Championship pointless? Now, we had a lot of responses. I'm going to read out some of the best ones. Mr. Michael Pieri. You know what? When Mike Pieri goes off on one, he's off on one. Let's go. A jamboree, an opportunity for FIFA executives to go on a jolly. Not competitive at all, and I much prefer the old Intercontinental Cup. South America versus Europe. This version exists purely to satisfy the snowflakes. He uses me as because I like that word, yeah. Who believe in equitable opportunity in elite sport, an oxymoron if ever one existed. Football power resides in Europe and in South America. No question, no debate. Let the South American champions play the European champions in the two-legged match. So much more meaning and throwbacks to when the competition did have a semblance of meaning and value. Other people like Dan DeLuca says simple yes for me. Amber Van Lieshout, our lovely friend in the Netherlands, says I think so, yes. Harry Simu from Sofa Sports News, another very good podcast. I think its significant. I think its significance is bigger than in other countries, particularly outside Europe. It's a nice honour to win, but it's not the be all and end all for me. And other people just say yes, 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 yes. Andreas from Bristol says, I don't think it's pointless necessarily. It's not easy to fit in another format which will best suit the teams involved. Location, domestic fixture pile-ups, risk of injuries, lots to be considered. Joe Uccello from Low Limit Football says it is because it lacks the competitiveness of other tournaments. I think it could be improved with the finalists from all cups, not just the winners. What do you make of the World Cup or the World Club Champions or whatever they want to call it these days? Because they play everywhere in Morocco, in UAE.
Pointless.
Pointless.
Waste of time.
Just pointless.
Well, think about it. In this country, it wasn't even on the telly. It says it all. What kind of tournament is it that we've got so many broadcasting channels that show football and none of them want to show this competition?
So because it's not on the telly, it's not good?
No, it says it all, really, doesn't it?
So everything on Netflix is rubbish? Because on the telly.
So we're talking about this competition right now. I mean, you know, that's you asked my opinion. I'm giving it to you. That's what I think. You know, every other Europa League, Champions League, World Cup, European Champion, and you name it, everywhere. People might not even know that this competition.
But it's the World Championship of club football.
I don't know. Maybe the time of the year is wrong as well. Real Madrid have got El Clasico this Saturday. Now they've gone away to wherever they've gone. They're going to come back as champions. Whatever, confidence could be high, but it could have had the reverse effect. Gone out there, not as gone as well as it could have, and then come to play Barcelona, which is a massive game for them. If they don't win,
okay, they scraped 2 wins.
Scraped 2 wins.
But listen, they're not going flying on all cylinders. It's like 40 degrees out there.
Listen,
35, 40
remember
degrees.
when Man United went? Yeah, they had a holiday. United.
That was in Brazil.
Yeah, they went for a holiday, not for the competition.
It was for the World Cup, wasn't it? Really?
Yeah,
really.
And United missed out on the FA Cup that year as well because of the pressure of the FA.
That's right. That's right. Rod, is it a pointless tournament? I mean, we say as Man United fans, world champions twice, once more than England. Is it an asinine competition?
It is totally pointless, really. It used to be good years ago, but the teams, it's just not competitive. It's like Jan says, it's not on the TV, so it's not that important. I don't think the players take it that important as manager. I think it's more of a commercial thing for if you win it, then Real Madrid world champions, Manchester United world champions. I actually agree with you, Stel. They should just have a one-off game or a playoff games. You know, back in 2000, I won a car from that, so they should go back to it.
Fair enough.
It's not pointless then, is it?
It's not pointless. It's not at all.
What was it, Rod? Was it a Nissan?
No, it was a Toyota Celica.
Oh, Toyota, that's the one. Yeah, it was close.
Lovely. Emmanuel, save the competition. Put it on the map. Sell it to us. Do something. I don't know.
I'm not going to say it to you at all. I think Jan's right. I mean, the broadcasters go where the interest is, and the fact that they're not willing to pay for any sorts of rights. I mean, as bad as some of the African Cup of Nations are, that's still a competition that's full of vibrancy and competitiveness, and you know, and I think as well, the format is it's so bad. I mean, how many games do they play? Is it like 2 or 3 games or something like that?
Semi-final and then a final, and then the losers.
Yeah, so it's like it's hard to really build any sort of momentum within a week, effectively. So I think that's another reason why people don't watch it, because they can see, you know, Real Madrid have won it and they won it 1-0, and okay, yeah, we all move on. And I also think as well, no one. The thing is, it's like the Confederations Cup. It's harder to qualify for it than it is to win it, if that makes any sense.
Yep.
So you're winning a bigger trophy before you go and play that one. So yeah, I just think that they just need to either scrap it, or I think that the good idea is to get the other finalists from all the other competitions and make it a bit more, maybe a week and a half, and you play maybe 3 games or something like that, but just get more teams interested, because if it's just Real Madrid, the only Real Madrid fans care about it, and nobody really knows about Gremio or teams from the J League and stuff like that. So
the thing is, though, Emmanuel, if they introduce like a format like that, it's finding the time in the calendars to do something. It might be a little bit difficult, you know, to have like a 3-week tournament in like October or November or December as it is. It might be hard, and especially in this country as well.
Yeah, I don't think it needs to be a 3-week tournament, but I think it could be maybe a week and a half max. And you just play lots to get, but then you don't need to add lots of teams to it. You just need to add maybe another 3 or 4 more teams, and that's it. And then you just play 3 games or something, and then, or maybe a league format or something like that. So maybe they just play one game in a neutral venue and see who finishes top of that pile. But I don't know. But
what happens in 2022 when the World Cup is in December in Qatar? So they didn't think of that.
They might just have the Club World Championships just before the World Cup.
You can imagine Neymar going, I'm just gonna pop over to Abu Dhabi and kick a ball out, and then I'll just go back. You know.
What do you make of the tournament? Then what do you think?
I think there's a lot good with it, because you get to see other teams in action. If it's on the telly, that is. You learn about other nations. You see how they can play, and you can see how serious they take it, because, you know, let's be honest, the South American teams, they really, I mean, when Corinthians beat Chelsea, they loved it, you know, because they beat a European team, you know, so it's a pride thing. So for Gremio to only lose 1-0 to Real Madrid, I mean, Gremio are a half decent team anyway, let's be honest. But yeah, there's a lot wrong. There's more wrong than right about it.
I suppose if you're in it and you win it, it's good for the club, you know, but I don't know.
It doesn't really have any credibility, you know, much anyway. Well, we have 2 Brazilian listeners, Hugo Fulco and Marco Lima, have been listening to the show from day dot. And Hugo and Marco both make very good points. Now, Hugo says, with globalization, the teams from outside Europe don't stand a chance, and therefore the appeal from a competitive standpoint is non-existent, especially in the current format. The best from South America play in Europe, but even the South American clubs are currently closer to the rest of the world than they are to the level of the European elite. A return to an old-school Intercontinental Cup 2-legged home and away would be intriguing, although good luck finding the space in the calendar, where the European clubs would agree to this. I'd love for this to happen regardless of what FIFA decide going ahead. The other FIFA alternative for me would be a much larger 8-team tournament like the one done in Brazil in 2000, with the finalists from Europe and South America also included. To add more traditional teams in the mix, but again, the fixture congestion will be a huge barrier, and I feel that more likely than not, we will see a repeat of the Champions League final in the decider year after year. Now, Marco says, I've come to the conclusion that a competitive and democratic have become mutually exclusive terms when it comes to football. Europe has better sides going in, better players, better depth of squad. South America has better timing going in. Teams are still sharp off their cup win and have nothing else to play for the season. The rest of the world are just glad to be there and try to get an alpha jersey come match end. As Hugo implied, with the best players in the world across all continents already playing in Europe, the Champions League was already the World Club Cup. Save these mix of competitions for European pre-season events. And he's got a point. He's got a point, because we see a lot of the exhibition tournaments. We see Man City, Liverpool, United, Arsenal going all over the world to play in China, to play in America, and they all get together in these competitions. So United play City out there. We saw United play Paris Saint-Germain, City play Real Madrid, and so on and so forth. So you kind of got like an international Champions League going on there. And I just think that if they time it right, then they can get it right. But I really don't think these nations, these federations taking it that serious. As Mike said, this is jolly for them, isn't it? There you go. Right, well, Cristiano Ronaldo's winner was the difference in the World Club Cup final, but his former teammate Kaka stole the headlines this week after announcing his retirement at the age of 35. That's actually quite young to be fair these days. Rod, Kaka was the last player to win the Ballon d'Or before Messi and Ronaldo turned up. How would you describe his ability to those who've actually never seen him play?
Like I was saying to you earlier today on the phone, he's there's been some great players at Old Trafford that I've seen on the opposition side. Gabriel Batistuta, Del Piero, but there's three that stand out that I watched: that Kaka, Ronaldo, and Zidane. But Kaka was, he was like a Rolls Royce of a player. He was a great box to box midfielder, left foot, right foot, brave. Got injuries and didn't get a good run in the Brazilian side because there was quality there too. But he was in watching live. He was an unbelievable player and just a joy to watch.
I remember when he turned up at Old Trafford. Do you remember
when he turned up on his own?
Put Heinz on his backside, didn't he?
Heinz and everyone into each other.
Yeah, that's right. And then he was a superb player, Kaka. So much elegance on the ball. He always had time and space. He could finish. He could dribble. He had good vision. All-round great player, Kaka.
Why do you think he didn't replicate that form for Real Madrid, though?
Could be the pressure of Real Madrid. A lot of big players go to Real Madrid and for whatever reason sometimes don't hit the heights. And at Real Madrid, they played him a lot wide left as well. That it's not really he's a number 10, Kaka. He always has been a number 10. So maybe the fact that they were trying to kind of accommodate all the players and, shifted Kaka wide left just to get him into the team.
Ronaldo signed a few weeks after, didn't he?
Yeah. And you would have thought Kaka and Ronaldo would have been a formidable kind of partnership. But he did well at Real Madrid. He didn't do great. But he did okay. But at Milan is where he really excelled as a player.
That's right. Emmanuel, what do you remember of him?
Like you said, I remember him again. Just basically putting Evra and Heinz on his backside. But also some of his World Cup moments were pretty amazing. And I think the fact that, again, his versatility for AC Milan was just top class, especially in the Champions League. And yeah, he just the dribbling ability was and the thing is, I think he was maybe not the first, but if you look at his body and his frame, he was quite tall. So for him to have that sort of dribbling ability and pace, as they say, great touch for a big lad and all of that sort of stuff. But he wasn't your typical pacey winger or central attacking midfielder. So he had so many tools in his locker, and I think that's what made him special. Obviously, he's won the Ballon d'Or, and I think he's won nearly every competition, I think. So,
yeah, I think apart from the Europa League.
Yeah, exactly. So he's had a brilliant career.
Absolutely.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't he agree to leave Milan because Milan they needed the money? Was it Real Madrid? I don't think he wanted to go to Madrid, if I'm not mistaken. And because Milan wanted to sell him because of the financial position that they were in, I think he cried when he left Milan, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think he wanted to leave Milan.
Possibly.
It just shows kind of all right, you don't really turn down Real Madrid, but
no, you don't. Well, we've had some people with some great responses on our Facebook group page about Kaka, and most of them actually mentioned the performance at Old Trafford. Doran says can't remember which year it was, but he tore United a new one. Alavi from Sofa Sports says the first game of the 2006 World Cup. I'm trying to remember which one that was actually. But he has to go back into that one. Hugo, again, he's brought out the Brazilian side of him. He says, I know it was just a friendly, but the goal against Argentina at the Emirates showcased him at his best. Burst of speed, leaving the Hermanos in the dust. There you go. There you go. Hermanos, you hear that? Right, Giancarlo, he's a big Milan fan. He says many to choose from. First ever Milan goal in the derby, goals in the Champions League against Fenerbahce and Celtic, or his brace at Old Trafford against United. Leonardo, who was a club scout in Brazil for Milan at the time, signed this young kid for a club that had just won the 2003 European Champions League. Many in Italy laughed at his name. The pronunciation was never particularly favourable, but they were soon dazzled by his abilities. And I'd just like to say a quick thanks to our friends in South Africa for their contribution as well. Kudze says, in the Champions League semi-final, who was still at Milan, that was a tragic moment in football. He had no right to play that good against United. And Sifilani responded, that was sick, man. I don't want to remember that. And Kudze responds, it was a tragic day. He kept Fergie for winning another title, a tragedy and a football injustice.
Let's not forget, he did play very well at Old Trafford, but let's not forget, they still got beat. Wayne Rooney got a brace and United won 3-2. So.
We won 3-2. That's right.
Both the legs, he was phenomenal.
Yeah,
he was absolutely phenomenal. I was sitting in K-stand for that first leg, and he on the ball, he was just so comfortable, composed. We were scared of him. We were scared of him.
They did have some good players though. Seedorf, Nesta, Cafu. It goes on and on.
That's right.
Yeah, Crespo up front as well, didn't
it?
Yeah.
Was it up front? Okay. I thought it was a copy as well. But anyway, over in France, Lille sacked Marcelo Bielsa after 3 wins in 13 games, leaves them second from bottom. Now, Emmanuel, Bielsa is lauded by Pochettino and Guardiola, although it's a bit difficult to see what the fuss is about, given he had a poor season at Marseille, and then he quit 48 hours into the Lazio job. Are you a Bielista? Are you even there, Emmanuel?
And we lost him.
I think he's disappeared. I think we scared him.
I know, there he is.
There he is.
We can see him, but we can't hear him. It looks like you're muted, my friend. I think he's muted by accident. I think his mic's gone. We can see you, but we can't hear you. The joys of modern technology. What do you reckon of Bielsa? While Emmanuel sorts his stuff out. Huh?
What's he done?
Don't you tell me? I'm asking the question. That's what I need to know. What's he done?
What's he done as a
manager?
He
had that decent season at Athletic Bilbao, where he got Muniain and a few others playing.
Oh, well, he got them playing, did he?
He got Ander Herrera playing.
Yeah.
Give him that.
Oh, God. Well, he's a manager. It's his job to get the players going, isn't it? That's part of management. I haven't seen anything over his career. For doesn't win trophies. He usually leaves clubs. He's always controversial. I'm not a Bielsa fan now. Doesn't do it for me.
Do you think he will do a job at the Australian Football Federation or whatever they call themselves these days? Because apparently, they're looking for a new guy.
Bielsa's style of management is playing football. He likes his teams to play football. Now, I don't know how many. Australia don't have a lot of them kind of players, so his style with what Australia have at the moment might not suit them. But his experience might improve a lot of players that are there. I'm not saying he's a bad manager. I'm just saying he's not done enough in his career for me to merit, as in, the hype about this guy. Maybe we should get the Dortmund job.
Oh, yeah. Dortmund job, yeah. Emmanuel, are you back there, my friend?
Sorry about that. My laptop's about to die and I don't have... My other one doesn't work. So
not a problem, my friend. Not a problem. Modern technology. This is what happens when we do live shows. It happens. At one time, we got disconnected. Then Rod was with another guest, and I think Rod said we can do the job better than them.
I'm sure there was a poll that said that we did a better job, wasn't there?
You're right. Actually,
you have some pictures.
Go on, Emmanuel. Bielsa. To me.
Bielsa, I'm a fan of his style of play, but I think there are some monumental flaws with the way he plays the game. I think you've seen it specifically with Marseille, in particular. When he was there, I think they won so many games on the bounce, and then I think the second half of the season they just really, really tailed off. And obviously, Sampaoli is one of his massive sort of what's it called? Students. Yeah. And obviously you've seen that, I think Sevilla about 2 or 3 seasons ago, they did the same thing. They started off the season in a crazy manner, winning games left, right and centre. Second half of the season, they just fall flat on their feet. So yeah, I think what he's trying to do is great, but I think the fact that he's left, did he leave Lazio?
Yeah.
And now he's left Lille.
Mm.
Yeah, so I think that just doesn't really sit well with me, and I think he just needs to, because he is a very principled man. I think the reason why he left Lazio was because they said that they were going to sign 3 players before pre-season, and he said if they don't sign those players, then he will leave, and they'll have to terminate his contract. So he is a very principled man. You can see that with the way he plays football. So it is very admirable. And it's a very exciting brand of football, but I just think he needs to maybe just develop it a bit more so his players don't collapse halfway through the season.
Do you know he was suspended from the touchline?
Yeah, suspended. Yeah, because he wasn't able to. He wanted to go to visit his friend who was ill or something.
He went back home, didn't he?
Yeah.
Well, do you know where he actually watched the game?
No.
He was in a restaurant watching the game on the laptop. He didn't even go to the ground. He's suspended. He didn't watch it in the stands. He wanted to sit in a restaurant. What are you going to say?
Do you remember when he sat on his coffee?
What?
And he burned when he was at Marseille.
No, I
Don't you remember this? That's a highlight of his career. He put his coffee like on a stand and he forgot about it and went to sit down and he sat on his coffee and burnt himself. That's for me, that's the highlight of his career. That was brilliant.
Fantastic. I need to go find that.
You need to find that. It's funny.
Right. Few surprise results in Serie A at the weekend as both Milanese sides suffered big defeats. What's going on?
Who shall I start with? Inter Milan. Surprisingly, they lost to Udinese at home 3-1. First defeat of the season. Considering that they went to Juventus and got a 0-0, which you would have thought would have given them confidence to push forward. They needed penalties against a Serie C team to get through the cup game, and then to lose against Udinese at home was a big kind of kick in the teeth. But they'll bounce back. Inter Milan, they've got a good manager. The players are good, so they'll bounce back. As for AC Milan, I really don't know what's going on. They've made me look like an idiot because I said at the start of the season, especially with the money and the players that they brought in, they will challenge. I don't know what they're challenging for, but it's definitely not the league title. I don't know what they're trying to do there, the hierarchy at AC Milan. If you look at the managers, they've had Seedorf, they've had Inzaghi, now they've got Gattuso.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're trying to bring the old players back that kind of know the Milan kind of way and the club, but it's not working.
No.
It's not, they need to go a different route. And I personally think they should get Ancelotti. That's me personally, because they need somebody who's been there and done it before. And if they've still got a bit of money, I know was it FFP that's come in, that might kind of hinder what they might sign or going forward in the future. But Ancelotti for me is a good bet to take that Milan job. Gattuso's not up for it. Wherever he's gone, he's been sacked. He's too temperamental as a manager. Yeah, he's got a lot of emotion, and you like that, but I don't see him managing AC Milan. He doesn't do it for me.
The thing is, we spoke about at the beginning of the season that we thought Milan weren't far away because of the money that they've got.
Yeah.
How wrong were we?
Sure.
The thing is, when they signed this Bonucci from Juventus, I think they only signed. Okay, he wanted to leave, obviously, but I think they only signed him because it was like their statement of intent. Like,
it was the name,
when City signed Robinho, that was their statement of intent. It's like, right, we can attract these players. We can attract the big names. We can attract. I mean, he's Italy's best defender, right? Yeah. And with Italy's most promising goalkeeper, as he's supposed to be, Donnarumma, you're thinking, well, they got something there, but you can't just throw money and just think it will work. I mean, Kessie's been a good signing, to be fair.
He's probably the only one that's kind of excelled. I mean, Andre Silva hasn't scored a Serie A goal this season.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Okay. Kalinic is struggling. Kalinoglu's not really playing, and when he does, he's not really done anything. Bonucci has been terrible. He's been really bad. Rodriguez has been a decent signing, the left back. Him and Kesse are kind of the only two that have done well. The rest have been really bad signings, and they've got problems with the goalkeeper. Donnarumma, he was in tears the other day. They had banners up, they don't want him, etc. Don't know what's happening at Milan. The club, the stature of where Milan are in Italy, and it's all going down.
Well, they're in big trouble financially as well. Big trouble financially, so they better get their asses in gear.
They've got good play in Crotone though, but they don't play him.
No. Well, because they have to play the expensive signings, don't they? Of course they do.
And he's a good player as well. Scores goals every time he's on the pitch.
Okay. And Inter, do you think it's going to be a blip for Inter?
Yeah, I just think it's one of them. They've got too much. They've got Icardi. I'm a massive fan of Icardi. When you've got somebody who puts the ball in the back of the net, and they got service. When we spoke about West Brom, I know West Brom are not Inter Milan, but they've got Candreva on one side, they've got Perisic on the other, who just bombard crosses, and Icardi's
and they might have Mkhitaryan in January.
With any luck.
Right, the final bit of news I got for you guys, I didn't tell you a lot about.
Yeah.
If you're ever in Trieste, which is in Italy, and you fancy a coffee, please don't be put off by Cafe Rossetti's 1-star rating on TripAdvisor. Now, you're scratching your head thinking, what are we talking about? Well, last week, Italian referee Piero Giacomelli, Piero Giacomelli, sent off Lazio's Ciro Immobile, and he seemed to have missed a blatant handball for Torino's first goal in the 2-2 draw. Now, this led to a fan website, La Lazio Siamo Noi, doing their best Sherlock Holmes impression, tracking down the referee's small business, which so happens to be the aforementioned coffee shop. and they left a 1-star rating on TripAdvisor. So if you see that 1-star rating at this coffee shop, they haven't got rats. They haven't got anything bad. It's just a few Lazio fans got a bit mischievous and decided to give them a 1-star rating. But apparently they looked on the Facebook group page and they saw an image of the coffee shop, and it had a painting of was it Totti at the front or something, and then it was taken down. So I don't know how true that is. So I read that, but I didn't see any evidence.
They lost that game still, 3-1 Torino. That's why they reacted the way that they did.
I thought it was 2-2.
No, 3-1 Torino.
Well, BBC needs to get facts right.
Yeah, 3-1 Torino. And
3-1 Torino.
They look at the technology, don't they? The video technology. Yeah, and he still missed the handball. So you're absolutely right about that. He stopped the game. He sent off Immobile. But the incident before that was the blatant handball that infuriated the Lazio fans. But he never decided to give a penalty, but he decided to send off Immobile.
Yeah. Oh, well. See, that's video technology for you.
Yeah,
you're not a fan, are you?
Yeah, I hate it. Don't want it.
Oh, well. Do you like VAR, Emmanuel?
It needs a bit of work, but I anything that can try to improve the game. I think I think it's good to try. If it doesn't work after a couple of years, then scrap it. I like the idea of having more refs. I think that's a better idea than VAR. But yeah, how it goes. Just see how it goes.
There you go. Give it a try.
Kills the emotion of the game.
Stop whining you. Right, that's it for us. Thanks everyone for listening. Thank you, Rod. Thank you, Emmanuel, for joining us. It's been an absolute pleasure. Rod, would you actually give our listeners your Twitter handle and the fantastic pie company?
Yeah, it's Rod James Giggs. Pie company's Hollands.
Holland. There you go. Emmanuel, where can we listen to your podcast? Where can we get you on Twitter?
Yeah, it's at OneUpFront4231, and you can find us on SoundCloud on the same detail. So it's at OneUpFront4231, and you can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Acast.
Fantastic. And you?
Yiannakis, Jay.
That's it.
That's it.
You haven't tweeted this week, have you?
No, I haven't. No.
Why not?
I haven't had time.
You've been homeless. You haven't got a phone.
Yeah. I ain't paid the bill.
We should create one of those crowdfunding things so he can pay his phone bill so he can use Twitter.
Please support me. It's Christmas.
What did you do the next show in my Father Christmas? How would you reckon? Right.
Get some more big issues sold.
Was that?
Get some more big issues sold.
And on that note, we're going to leave you guys to it. Thank you for listening and tuning in. Thanks to everyone that contributed on Facebook, on Twitter, everything. We're on Twitter at Shoot Defense. We have a Facebook group page. Join it because you see some fantastic comments from our listeners. And thanks again for everyone that's still watching. Till next time, take it easy and have a good Christmas.